Hi there, John Draws here again from Comb Square Music. I'm talking about how to tune your snare drum. There's a lot of videos on YouTube about how to tune your snare drum. I'm going to show you my method. Let's get right to it. Let's start with the bottom head first. Now, I'm not going to have you watch me tune my drum because that's insanely boring. Usually they fast forward or just skip over it. I'm just going to talk to you about it. The snare head is what makes the snares vibrate. I like on my drum to have lots of snare response. I want to hear a lot of snare sound. So here's my recipe. Get that bottom head tabletop tight. Like as tight as it will go without you thinking you're going to break it. Seriously. And my other plastic is very strong. I get that head cranked down real tight. I always use a snare side head. Technically, this head's called the snare head. A lot of people don't know that. So some people, when they say snare head, they just mean a head for their snare drum. So usually I say snare side head or bottom head. But some people will use a diplomat or ambassador, top head on the bottom. I don't like that sound. I feel like it chokes everything off too much, and I like a lot of snare response. So I use an actual snare side head. It doesn't really matter what brand you buy. There's not going to be a huge difference. But I get it nice and tight. It's going to vibrate. It's going to be very sensitive. It's going to vibrate quickly too. It won't be a big long sound, but it's going to be very sensitive. And there's the snare drum secret, which is the snare bed. You may notice on your drum, it kind of goes down a little bit. Where the snares go, the wood dips down. It's been filed down or sanded down, and that's on purpose. That's called the snare bed. It affects the way the snares lay on the drum head and the way it's going to vibrate and make those snares sound. I'm not going to get into a bunch of science around that. But what we call the sweetness crank, you take the lugs that are around the snare bed, those 4 lugs. I just do like an extra quarter turn. Once I have the head in tune with itself, I just give those 4 a tiny bit extra. That makes the snares extra super sensitive. The opposite, sometimes people, if their snare buzzes too much, they'll loosen those 4 slightly so it won't buzz as much when you're hitting your toms. I don't do that. I keep those 4 cranked a little tiny bit extra. I like the super sensitiveness. If my toms are making my snare buzz, I can adjust my toms slightly. Just change the pitch a little bit, and then it won't make them buzz. How to tune it, just like I said on my other How to Tune Your Drums video, get the heads on there, you get them all finger tight, just not as far as you can turn, but as soon as it touches the rim, you stop, start doing quarter turns, you start doing like a cross pattern. We'll call it a star pattern or a crisscross pattern, until it makes a sound. You want to tap by each one to make sure they sound the same. Well, the problem you have with doing that on the snare side is the snares are going to buzz on you. There's the trick. Loosen the snares up, take one stick, and do like that. Now the snares aren't touching the head. Actually, these are a little bit. Let me get them a little tightened up here. Get them off the head. You can tap at each lug and make sure they're the same. You use your ear. If it sounds different, adjust it. If your ear's not that well tuned in, if you can't tell if it's higher or lower, just turn it and see what happens. Pick a direction. If it sounds worse, go the other way. That's, eventually your ear will kind of hear, is it higher, is it lower? Once it's all in tune with itself, then I give each of these like a quarter turn extra. It just makes the snare drum super sensitive. Also, there are different types of snares, strainers, throw-offs. This is the Ludwig Classic throw-off. The snares actually extend past the head. Now on this side they don't, and a lot of snares are like that, so they kind of start there. This actually goes off the head, which means the entire surface of the drum head is a vibrating snare. So if I'm going to play on the edge of the drum on top, I'll still get that snare drum sound because that same area on the drum head, the very edge, has snares on it. Also, this kind of strainer doesn't really pull the snares up, it pulls them across the head. Straighteners that do that are going to give you a more sensitive snare response. On my top head, I have a Remo coated ambassador. Some people like a thicker head, they want a deeper rock sound. You can get 2-ply heads or with a reinforcement dot in the middle. You can get coated or uncoated. Just kind of depends what you want. Again, my overall formula is bottom head is thinner and tighter, top head is thicker and looser. Remo Ambassador head is thicker than the snare side head. I like a little lighter, crisper sound, so I don't use as thick a head as I do on my toms and bass drum, but some drummers do, and that's just fine. I do the same thing. I get these all finger tight, then go across until it holds tension. Then I would tap by each lug. Make sure they all sound the same. And with mine, I tune mine fairly low. Okay? I like that sound. I like that big, meaty, drummy sound. And again, with having the top head tighter and the bottom head looser, it gives that drum a nice round sound. Boom, boom. Which is the sound that I like. Now with the snares on, again, I'm getting tons of snare response. Let me put it a little bit tighter even. Tons of snare response. You've got the edge. Got the edge playing quiet. I'm getting plenty of snare sound. I watch a lot of guys on YouTube. They're playing their drum set, and I can't tell if their snares are on or not. All I hear is ping, ping when they hit the snare drum. They have their snare drum cranked up really tight. If that's the sound they want, that's fine, that's their sound. I don't want that sound. I want to have a nice meaty drum sound. Of course, when the drum head is on really tight, it will bounce more. This still has plenty of bounce in it. Stick is bouncing, but I have that nice, when I hit it hard, I have that nice, deep, meaty sound. And I've got snare response for days. Now again, I use no muffling. The snare drum has no tone control on it, no muffler knob. If you have one on there, I don't recommend using it. Most drummers do is they just crank it up until that felt crams into the head, which actually then changes the pitch of the drum. One side of the drum from the other side. Over time, it's going to make the shell go out of round. People crank it way up. Used properly, it should just barely touch the head and help absorb some overtone ring. Generally speaking, your high-end model drums don't even come with that. It's more something they put on low model drums, like beginning starter drums and stuff they sell to schools for their starter snare drums, because it just gets rid of that ring that people don't like to hear. Now my drum rings a little bit, of course, but really besides me, no one hears it. You probably won't even pick it up much on the camera there. Again, I don't use muffling on my drums. I will have another video coming out later about drum muffling. I'll talk about that in depth. But in general, I don't use any muffling. If I tune the drum the way I like to, it sounds the way I want it to. Muffling is not part of my drum sound. Bottom head is thin and tight. Bottom head is thicker and looser. I make sure the drum is in tune with itself. Each lug is each lug is in tune with itself. The drum's going to sound good. Now, I can tune it a little bit higher if I wanted to, a little bit lower. You can adjust the exact pitch you want for your drum. I definitely keep the top head looser than the bottom head. It's that nice, round, short sound without muffling. Now, question I get sometimes is, how tight should you have the snares? Well, depends on the sound you want. I keep mine fairly tight. because I like kind of a shorter, more clear defined sound. Some people like that rattle on there. Some style of drumming, that's their snare drum sound. Their snares kind of rattle. It's not my sound. I'm going kind of like that. I like mine fairly tight. If I'm playing fast notes, I can really hear each note. If it's articulate enough, it's short enough, and my little fast notes come out and are clear. It doesn't sound just like mush. I can hear every note in the drum. At the edge. And that's how I get my snare sound. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider liking and subscribing. I'll see you next time.